Please welcome Governor John Francis.
Thank you all for coming out on this very special night.
Rehearsal action!
Shadow's a psychological action thriller that follows the main character who is living what he thinks is normal life in a small town, and he is having these reoccurring nightmares and dreams and doesn't understand why they're so intense, and he starts to delve into what's going on to find out there's a lot more to the story than meets the eye.
The story was really interesting and challenging in a way because it's one of those stories where you don't want to give away too much too early, but you also want to give away just enough that the audience can follow it. So it was a bit of a challenge balancing that from a story perspective and from a directing perspective, because everybody has to be playing all these layers at the same time. Every character in the movie is not who you think that they are, and they all switch sides.
Something came over me. I ended up in a ditch.
I think you should go talk to somebody.
Our decision to cast Cam was based off of a few things. He is a great leading man look for the movie. I think the down-to-earth, all-American kind of feel.
You know, he gets to play a very complex character because this character doesn't know if he's going crazy, if everybody's playing him, if he's really married, if it's all a dream. Like, the story has so many elements to it. You know, he keeps waking up from these crazy nightmares that he's having that appear that, you know, he's assassinating political figures, then later he figures out that, you know, in the news that these assassinations actually happen, and he starts connecting it all together, but nobody believes him.
There's something else at play, something that's not really in his control, and he has to kind of go about dealing with that while still trying to figure out what is actually happening. My favorite moments actually when he is not who he is, his alter ego, and so it's just kind of fun playing a different character on those like moments where I get to.
You know, his best performances were when he really got into the role and we got physical. We got out in the woods, racing the cars around, the guns on the rooftop. I felt like he was really at home doing the action stuff. I can see why it's an enjoyable part of the movie. You know, I think whenever actors get to actually be physical, it's always exciting.
My waking dreams, I'm chasing people, killing them.
Dreams. They're getting worse?
They're not dreams.
So, they're reality.
He is brought to Dr. Reese as this psychiatrist, nouveau scientist, to try help him, who puts him on a medication. And throughout the story, we find out that it's a mind manipulation experiment that's along the lines of MK Ultra without being this.
First of all, Myers is a great actor. I think he's a very classical actor, and having the opportunity to have him on set, the role of the doctor, you know, I think really fit his character well.
I think he's a true artist, and he has an intensity that, you know, is only a Jonathan Rhys Meyers intensity. And I thought for the part, you know, it's more of a subdued part. If we could bring that subdued part with Jonathan's intensity, it would kind of bring a little extra life and spark to his character for this film.
What this Dr. Reese character is trying to do is he's trying to eliminate human soldiers from the battlefield. But by doing this, he is using this young man and sacrificing this young man's life and this young man's sense of himself, his sense of his mind, and his sense of his soul.
I didn't want to hurt you, Gabriel.
Open the goddamn door or I'm calling the police!
Why would you do that to me?
There's something wrong with you!
Because you think I'm fucking crazy!
What we have is good.
My character Bren is a loving and supportive wife of her husband Gabriel. Gabriel starts believing that these dreams that he's having are real, and so it creates this conflict between the characters in the story in a way where, you know, she wants to be supportive, but how far do you go, and how do you deal with someone who is believing something that's not reality is reality?
I think that the scenes between him and her, you know, they really have that kind of connection and believability that you need from your actors, and she nailed it. You know, she nailed the loving wife, but at the same time, like, what's really going on and what's her real motive, and is she who she says that she is?
Within the story, you're going to find out that Bryn is different than who you think she is. And then when you find out things, which I will leave it up to you to find out, I'm not going to tell you, that it changes the perspective and it changes the audience's perspective. And I think that is really cool to be a part of.
We really don't know the full extent of any of it until the last 5 or 10 minutes of the movie. So it was enjoyable to make it because of that.
You gave me meds because I was remembering shit.
Am I so unbearable to live with?
I spent years of research on that boy. No, that's not what happened.
Michael Biehn was great to work with. We were stoked. I mean, he's been around from all the great movies in the 80s and 90s, and so having him on set was just like, it's cool. It's kind of a blast from when there were real movies made, and he's a great character actor, and he's a great guy to work with.
Michael's character is very important in the movie. I mean, he has a long backstory with our hero, but our hero doesn't know the long backstory. So it gives him some interesting depth. If you watched it the second time, I think you'll key in on some of that, where he knows what he's talking about, but the hero doesn't, and the audience didn't until you watched it the second time.
I played a lot of heroes, like in The Terminator, and a lot of bad guys, like in Tombstone. And I've played both sides. Aliens, I was a good guy. The Abyss, I was a bad guy. And I like playing the bad guys. Good guys get paid more. But in this movie, I get a chance to do both. It's always more fun playing the bad guys, I think, because you have to justify this bizarrely bad behavior.
I came in with this gun, take out the bodyguards, and then I snap this guy's neck.
No, it's just a dream, Gabe.
I mean, you got a house, a business, the prettiest girl east of the lake, a couple of kids, and you're practically the epitome of the American dream.
You know what? It's one of the best scripts that I've read in a long time. I'm an actor that's been around for a long time. And I know a good script when I read it.
Balancing the duality of the actors playing multiple roles, in a script like this, obviously comes back to the script, and it starts with the script and ends with the script. So, and I think on first draft we might have seen some things that we thought would give something away too much, and we pull it back and we change it. But the whole duality thing is very sensitive, and you've really got to sort of put yourself into the audience's shoes for the first time viewing, if you can, even though you know the story inside and out, and think about, well, what would they know here, what would they know there.
This film, it has a lot of interesting and fun and exciting moments. There's a whole lot of action in the movie. Anybody that likes action is going to like the movie. But to me, what I really like about this film, and speaking from even previous films that I've directed, is it's really focused a lot more on the interesting aspects of the characters and their interactions, and we have some very dramatic, very intense character situations with him and her that are kind of pushing the boundaries.
It's kind of a fascinating story. It's a relevant story, and it's got heart to it, which I think is what's going to set it apart from a normal action movie. It has a heart to it. It has these relationships and these characters that you want to do the right thing, and you cheer for them.
You're kind of with the characters on the ride, and then you get turned, and then you're on board again, and then there's something that happens, and you just didn't know that was coming. It's like, so it's kind of like a ride, and I think people will really like that.
I think my favorite moments in the character, for my character in the film, are probably when I'm finally showing Gabriel what we're doing and why we're doing this. He starts to understand the positive of what could happen with this. You see, the thing is, this is new science, and what happens when you're the first man through the door is you're going to get a bloody nose. Unfortunately, it's Gabriel gets the bloody nose this time.
Hopefully people won't really know what's going on until the very end of the movie. I think it's definitely going to keep you guessing.
So I think obviously the whole thing is holding out the mystery till the end, draws the audience along, as if you're just reeling them in, scene by scene by scene. Let him find out what it is, and while he's finding out what it is, we, the audience, are right over his shoulder, watching him and almost in his shoes, or his perspective, so to speak, as he figures out what the real story is.
Dream of freedom, it's over.
He was just a killing machine.
We take what we want, what we don't want, we kill.